Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. So we already did our review of Ahsoka episode 6, but I wanted to spend a bit more time today on some of the key issues which I did touch on briefly in the episode, but which I think now deserve a little more attention. So if you want to see sort of my general thoughts on the episode, you can check out my video from the day it released. If you want to see more actual analysis, then I think this is the place for you. And I do want to start off by talking about Thrawn's new henchman, Enoch. As with many of the characters in Ahsoka, Enoch's name actually has an origin in human text, specifically from the Bible. Now, I don't usually talk about biblical canon, but one of the interesting bits of information I found is that Enoch was taken by God to heaven without experiencing death. What's more, he was also perhaps immortal, or at least very old of age. Now, I think this is so interesting because let's take a look at the company Thrawn is keeping right now. I mean, for one, his Star Destroyer, it's in dire straits. The thing is being held together by seemingly the same magic, which is also holding together the armor of his undead stormtroopers. Now, you might be thinking, these stormtroopers, they're going to be shells of their former self, but one major element of the stormtrooper, as we see in episode 9, is the use of Japanese kintsugi. It's kind of funny, I actually listened to an interview on CBC about this yesterday, where they even referenced Kylo Ren's mask in episode 9, but the idea behind the art is that you embrace the change and the repair that an object undertakes, rather than trying to hide what was broken. So the idea here with the stormtroopers is probably that in being revived, they've become not just a shadow of themselves, actually something greater. The red ribbons that the stormtroopers have, which by the way seems to be the same color as those used by the Dathomiri Great Mothers, obviously represents the element of magic that is returning them to life. Initially, I thought that Enoch was actually missing these elements, but if you look closely, you can see the cracks in his armor, and he does seem to have red, but as an undersuit. What kind of creature or being he is, I'm not sure. One interesting bit of speculation I saw is that he could have been one of the stormtroopers shot in the face by Ezra in the Star Wars Rebels series finale, but I don't really know. What I find interesting though is the degree to which Grand Admiral Thrawn is embracing these things which he doesn't understand. That was actually a lesson we saw him learn throughout the Thrawn Ascendancy novels and also his other canon novels, but it is similar in a way to Jorah Sabayoth, but his incredible precognition skills are apparently being bolstered by the Great Mothers, who can see the fabric of time in a way. But I do want to talk about the Great Mothers a bit more than I did in the original video. Interestingly, we can actually see their name in the guest starring section of the credits. Their names are Actropah, Clothau, and Laxus, and as you may know, if you know your Greek mythology, these names are almost identical to the names of the three great fates, those being Clotho, Atropos, and Laxus. So aside from just using magic, as we see in the episode, these witches clearly have a grasp on the universe beyond even ordinary Force users. Now, will it turn out to be completely accurate? No, and that's also something we saw in the Thrawn trilogy with Jorah Sabayoth way back in the 90s. And I mean, already there have been mistakes, and I do wonder whether Thrawn could end up relying a bit too heavily on this dark magic. I'm guessing, and I talked about this a little bit in the video, that the things Thrawn is bringing on board are not just individuals, soldiers for his army, but also elements of the Night Witch Temple itself. There's a reference to the catacombs being loaded upon the ship, so very interesting there. And again, I alluded to this in the video, but this is pretty similar to how the Thrawn trilogy started in Star Wars Legend. So the first thing Thrawn does is go to Mount Tantiss, which ends up setting him up really for the rest of his campaign. He gets special cloaking devices, he gets clone vats, obviously the new version of that is his undead soldiers, and he also finds the services of Jorah Sabayoth, here being replaced clearly by the three Great Mothers. The plan itself even looks somewhat similar. If you look at the art for Mount Tantiss from the Heir to the Empire comic, it's actually very, very similar. But I do want to talk a bit about Paridia, because this is one of the most interesting things the show has done, introduced this new galaxy and this strange planet being encircled, as many of you pointed out, by the bones of the dead whales. Yeah, that's not a planetary ring made out of rocks. It's whale skeletons. Really reminds me of The Lion King. There's just something not quite right about this planet. There's something that doesn't feel safe or good. The statues, they're just so creepy. Like the look of pain they have in their face. And there's a reason everyone wants to get off this planet so badly. And it's not just because Thrawn does want to get back to the galaxy and restore order. I mean, we even see Thrawn looking at the galaxy map, evaluating the strategic situation. But there's something more. There's something that poses an even greater threat than just Thrawn or the Night Sisters or the Chimera. I won't belabor the point. It's something we talked about in the video earlier. Very interesting. One thing I didn't talk about, however, was the fact that it is just the Chimera. This isn't surprising given the fact that we did see Peridea in The Mandalorian Season 3 and he wasn't with Thrawn, but I just feel even more confused about the timeline here. It seems pretty clear based on Ahsoka Episode 6 that the only real way any communication was happening between the galaxy and the other galaxy was facilitated by the Night Sister magic. So Peridea is either Thrawn's just biggest fanboy and believes he's going to come back, which I mean is probably partially true, but it almost seems at this point like he's had some basic conversation with the Grand Admiral. I kind of wonder whether Thrawn may return and sort of lie in wait in the unknown regions before fully striking at the New Republic. But I mean, the big question, the one that you want me to answer but that I ultimately can't, is what are Baylan and Shin scared of? I don't know. Is Shin actually scared? I also don't know. Baylan seems to want to find some method of exerting ultimate control over the galaxy, whether that's through the control of time or a power or device which is greater than all potential others. Sort of a Thanos situation, gain ultimate power and enforce your rule. I wouldn't be surprised if that's related to whatever this dark side, presumably power, is that he can feel, but it also could be the use of the world between worlds, which he probably misunderstands. But those are my sort of expansive thoughts on some of the more important aspects of episode 6. Again, check out my full review if you're interested in that. Is there any one question you'd really like me to focus on more? Let me know down below.